windy as hell all of a sudden. So let's do that and figure out what we want to talk about. I've been waiting for my metallic speed paints to come in, and I thought today was going to be the day, except it was Horde Bronze. And I'm like, okay, you know, you can always use bronze on stuff, right? I mean, especially if you're painting up like Hyperborean stuff. I mean, yeah, right. Then bronzes would be a big thing, actually. Shields and stuff like that might be bronze. They might have bronze buckles or whatever. Yeah, that didn't work out. I need to mix that way better. So anyway, some of you might have seen that how I said this vampire must pay. Well, the vampire is an ancient named Shadwell, and he's screwed because every night when he comes to my window and asks me to let him in, I tell him no, and he can't come in, right? But I know where he is, and unfortunately for him, I don't have to ask to come in. So basically, he is absolutely screwed. One of these days, I'm going to get him. I mean, I almost got him the other day, but he'd been eating a lot of Indian food. And when I broke into his lair, it was so rancid in there, I had to flee. Like, my eyes were watering up and stuff. So the hammer and the stake and I had to get out of there. You know, some people just can't handle the Indian food. Of course, for him, Indian food would mean he was actually out eating Indians. Whereas for me, it would just be a nice curry. So maybe that was the problem. Well, somebody's in the chat. Good afternoon. Book ordered. Oh, you're going. I mean, I'll tell you right now that it's mostly like the King James version, except it has some more books in it than like in the Protestant Bible. And since it's a teaching Bible, it has some commentary from like the church fathers and priests and stuff like that. I had to buy a new one because I gave my original one to my nephew, and I have no idea what he did with it. So I had to buy myself a new one. But that was when I was doing everything I could to hopefully convince him not to join the Mormon church. And everything I could did not work. He joined the Mormon church. And then he met a Roman Catholic girl, decided to marry her. So now he's Roman Catholic. So, in my opinion, not super ideal, but a damn sight better than being the nicest heretics on the block. I mean, and I say that not out of meanness. I mean, I have never had bad interactions with the Mormons. Like when they visit, I chat with them. I'll grab them a Coke out of the drink fridge or something. Like, I like them. They're super nice. And, I think that's really cool, but it doesn't change the fact that they deny the Trinity and, you know, basically all of the old doctrine that most Christian faiths consider like required to even be called a Christian, they reject. And that is kind of an issue, you know. The way I think of it is Mormonism is basically steam aged Scientology. You know, it even has an alien on another planet and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, yeah. And it's even got a kind of a pyramid scheme where if you are the best Mormon you possibly can be, you can go on to become the god of your own world, your own creation, you know? So the being that they refer to as the Heavenly Father at one time was just a man. And to make things even, like, in my opinion, more disgusting, uh, when Jesus was conceived of Mary by the Heavenly Father, as they teach it, the Heavenly Father actually came down from heaven and clapped those cheeks, like, for real, for real. You know what I mean? So basically, yeah, what they think is that there was actual physical canoodling going on, and that's how Mary got pregnant. Which, to me, the very concept of that I find to be just absolutely disgusting. So, you know, but like I said, really nice guys, though. Really nice guys. Some of the nicest. But they are absolutely. But, you know, that's like talking about, say, Hindus, right? I can say I met these Hindu people, which I have met Hindu people, obviously, and they were really, really nice. Like, I loved them. They were doing like stuff, they were running around, whatever, right? But I mean, if I have to think about it religiously, it still doesn't remove the fact that they reject Christ and, you know, basically are followers of what can only be charitably called a pagan religion. Now, I know that's not what people wanted to hear when they showed up here, and I apologize, but yeah, that's kind of a huge problem, I think, with a lot of people who feel like evangelical, which I guess I'm evangelical because, you know, I have managed to talk a couple of people into actually becoming Orthodox, not just studying it, but going full on and becoming Ortho bros, right? And and I feel good for that because, you know, it's my opinion, which could be wrong, but it's my opinion that, you know, I've helped those people maybe. I don't know what'll happen, but I can at least look back and say, well, maybe I helped them find their path. What's up, Big James? So that's kind of cool. But yeah, my nephew, who is a genius, he got honeypotted into going to the Mormon church. And then after he'd been there a certain amount of time, whatever, and got all like involved in it and everything, the girl that honeypotted him called it off and was like, no, I don't think I'm ready to actually seriously date you and shit like that. But he kept going because by that time he'd already made friends and everything like that, right? And then, dun dun dun, out of the blue comes this Roman Catholic chick. And they start talking about this, that, and the other. And he's like, how many kids do you want? And she's like, 5. And like all this kind of crazy stuff. And the next thing you know, the boy's in his catechumen classes preparing to be baptized into the Roman Church. But I mean, I'm super happy for him because he wanted a woman that desired a huge family. And this woman is like super traditional Roman Catholic. So I expect she's probably pregnant now. You know what I mean? Like no one knows and no one said, but she probably is. Because, you know, it's kind of a thing, like culturally. In a lot of cultures, you are kind of, this is especially true in Russian culture, but it's like all the Slavic cultures, really. Um, you kind of are trying to knock your wife up on your honeymoon. That's how quick, it's like you meet a woman, you date her for a while, you decide to get married, you put a ring on her, and then your next goal is to knock her up as quick as possible. And yeah, so that's how it is. That is just how it is. So knowing how he is and knowing how she is, yeah, probably already happened. So crafting gamer, what are you crafting, but baby? Let me know what's going on here. And Big James, how you doing, bro? What you been up to? I've been we were doing the every other day or every other Saturday playing Hyperborea, but then the players have gotten so into Hyperborea now they want to play it every Saturday, which is like whatever. But and then as soon as I get done with this stream, I have to hit the floors. I got a whole list of stuff my wife made for me, and I got to get a lot of stuff clean because my sister-in-law is going to, excuse me, be visiting. And my wife is one of those people, where anytime we have guests, the house has to be spotless. And I'm one of those people that I look at our house and I'm like, the hell are you looking at? It's clean. I mean, like literally you could eat off our floors right now. But that don't matter. I mean, it has to be recleaned because it's just her and I here. We don't make a mess. I mean, if I really look around, I might find a little bit of Pomeranian fluff in a corner or something, but there's no addition to sink. Everything's wiped down. Oh, I have to get my game stuff off the dining room table. It's still on there, which is kind of lazy of me since we played Saturday and it's Wednesday. But yeah, hopefully at some point Shadow will show up and join me. That would be nice. I'm not holding my breath, especially with the fact that he had a lot of house stuff going on, but that would make me happy. you know. And I don't know how long it'll be until Bear ever joins me again. Uh, you know, not that I have any like whatever about him not joining me. I totally can understand it. Like Bear and I are very different people. Me being American and feeling like I can say just whatever I want all the time and not give a shit. And he being a Canadian and feeling like you shouldn't call people certain names or something like that. I mean, that's kind of a. I'm not saying it would be a stumbling block, but it could be. It definitely could be. So, you know, some of the stuff I say, I'll tell you what, if I were trying to actually make money selling games, I believe that I probably wouldn't hang out with myself, because I would be like thinking at some point someone is going to find a video of me going like off the reservation about something and him just sitting there, looking disgusted or bored, either way, and they'll come after him for the shit I said, because no one comes after me because let me plug my mic back in. How about now, Paul? Let's see. I mean, I hope it's not messing up, because oh yeah, it's good call, Paul. It's messing up big time. For some reason, it defaulted to the micro, whatever, and it's supposed to be on the Yeti. I've got the Yeti Blue Nano. How's that? That's got to be much better, right? Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, the vampire that I'm beefing with right now is Shadwell, because Shadwell keeps trying to sneak into my house, and I keep telling him to F off. I'm not going to let him in my house. And then, in the end, I know I will win, because he has to wait to be invited to my house. So as long as I'm in here, there's nothing he can do to me, right? But I don't have to wait to enter his lair. I can just go in there anytime I want, right? So all the cards are in my corner. Of course, I'm talking about some of the memes that Cold Iron made lately about, uh, Shadow chasing me through graveyards and trying to break into my house, even when I'm trying to take a deuce. And, I've found them to be pretty hilarious. Plus, the art is just getting really good. He's just getting really good. Now, Shadwell, it's Shadow and Son. His nickname is Shadwell, the Vampire Lord. And on Discord, Cold Iron Oven has made a bunch of memes of him as a vampire lord with glowing eyes, like chasing me through graveyards and shit. And it's me and my Pomeranian just running like hell from him. So I haven't done the eyes yet, but what do you guys think about that? If you're wondering what that is, it's obviously a Periton that I painted up to look like a bald eagle, which means it'll spend all of its time at the dump scavenging for food. But the Periton, since AD&D days, when I was like very, very young, has always been one of my favorite monsters. There's just something cool about them. And if you want to be a real dick, man, a Periton or two can really, really test a party, especially if they're like moving through, say, a rocky canyon. They're trying to do whatever, and the Peritons are like up, say they've got a cliff layer 50 feet up, and they're watching, the canyon for prey, right? And then they see the adventurers, at which point there's so many things they can do. And it's all things that are guaranteed to piss the adventurers right the hell off. I would say the vampire sneaking into the toilet is a lot more of an issue than my little buddy. Come on. Yes, I have a Pomeranian. His name is Mishka. Or in English, little bear. Brother. So now I put some red eyes on the Periton just to make him extra. But I actually ran that encounter once, and you wouldn't think that a couple Paradons could like run off and damn near TPK a whole party of like 7th level adventurers. But the thing people seem to not understand in D&D that I do understand is the power of flight is not to be joked with. You know what I mean? So if you've got a couple Paratons and they're like up above you and they see you, they don't have to fly down there to F with you. They can start dropping rocks on your head and shit. And the next thing you know, you either try to find an overhang to hide from them, or you got to figure out a way to range attack them. Maybe if you got a wizard, he could lightning bolt them, but then again, maybe not. You know, it's a whole thing. I think that's what a lot of DMs mess that up. It's like, and I'm not necessarily, I shouldn't say mess that up. They do it the way they want, and that's okay. But okay, let's say you're fighting a dragon. Why on God's green earth would the dragon ever land? Brother, ew. Yeah, I like that. I've seen that meme. Brother, ew. Ew. Today I learned for no good reason that the once upon a time Hassan worshiper Denims apparently tried to sleep with Destiny and he wouldn't do it. And now she's like talking all kinds of mad shit about Hassan Piker. I know most of you could give a shit less, but I'm like, I can't help it because I'm like, weren't they like best buddies like a month ago? And now all of a sudden, and the only reason I know any of this is because I watch Asmongold occasionally. And on the episode I was watching today, which is a new episode, Hassan Piker actually entered Asmongold's chat and started talking shit. And then, when he actually got pushed into a corner, Hassan fled like the bitch he is. But he was trying to talk shit to Asmongold about Asmongold's opinion on the ICE shootings, which I know it's a joke, but Asmongold's opinion on those 2 shootings is he feels pretty good about it. So, whereas Piker is still trying to convince people that the retarded lesbian woman did nothing wrong, even though all the footage is, pretty damning. And the pretty guy, I mean, that dude, yeah, he's got no chance. Well, I mean, he's got no chance because he's, no longer with us. But if people are thinking the agent that took him out is going to get in any trouble, yeah, you need to go ahead and disabuse yourself of that shit. Because that was more than a righteous shooting, in my opinion, just based on what I was seeing. And the guy was a recidivist. I mean, he was constantly going out there and interfering with cops. See? Now, some people might look at me and say, well, you're white. You never have to worry about this. And I'd say, no, that's not why I don't have to worry about it. The reason I don't have to worry about getting shot by a cop, guys, is because if a cop runs up on me and says, get out of the car, I get out of the car. And I don't act aggressive. And I don't try and spit in their face. You know what I mean? And carry on. No, I get out of the car. I answer their questions. I show them my ID. And then if it were an ICE officer, then I go home because I'm a legal citizen. As a matter of fact, am I a legal citizen? I think I'm a legal citizen, even though my family has been on this continent longer than the United States has ever existed by close to 100 years. But I guess, when America become independent, we just kind of swapped over, which is good because, God, I'd hate to be a British citizen right now, even though that's what I was. Not me, but my family. We were, uh, what is it? We were colonists of the Crown Colony of Virginia. Yeah, they tend to fight on the intrawebs. But here's the problem is that by Hassan going after frickin', and this is shit most of you don't care about. I apologize. I'll move on to something else you care about. Hassan, if he were smart, he would stop constantly talking about Asmongold because he is never going to beat Asmongold. You know what I mean? And as a guy who sits here and talks into a camera quite a bit myself, I have no idea how this shit works like that. Because Asmongold to me is just like your average balding kind of dude, right? With maybe just a slight touch of the tism. But then again, I watch him, so who am I to talk shit about Asmongold, And I don't agree with everything he says either. There's a lot of times where he'll say something and I'll be like, nah, I don't agree with that. But yeah. I agree with you though, passerby. I think that what you said is probably 100% true. It's just there's this group of people that are all Twitch idiots. And since they all kind of congregate in the same kind of circles, then they're always constantly wanting to beef with each other about shit. And a lot of times them beefing with each other tends to be their most popular content, like so. Yeah, see, that wouldn't work on YouTube, I don't think, because the way YouTube is, it's like you got people who have YouTube beefs every now and then, but it's like no one actually gives a shit. You know what I mean? So the link was there, Hungar, if you wanted it. So, maybe I'll start some internet beef with Hungar, just start talking shit. So, yep, I painted one of the Perytons I painted up as a bald eagle, and the other one, I don't know. It's just a generic Peryton. I need to put some eyes on him. Let's see. I'll show him kind of. I'm so shaky that it's like good luck, but you know, just your standard Peryton. But like I was saying though, um, a huge issue I think a lot of DMs have when they're running their game is they don't take advantage of how effed up it can be for a group of players to deal with flyers.
I will join until my food gets here, which it's on its way.
Oh, cool. What you got?
Gyro and Greek salad.
I got a couple hours to bullshit around in here and paint, and then I gotta I'm going to be out there singing songs of my people.
Days are never ending, master got me working.
Yeah. I woke up and the notepad was already laid out and it already had a list of honeydew shit on it. And I was like, but see, here's the thing though. She writes the honeydew lists, but then I wait and determine when I do them. So that way, dominance is still. Hey, Shadow, I was just talking about you. I was hoping you'd pop in. So therefore, I remain the dominant one. You know what I mean? Because yeah, she can make me do stuff.
That's food's on its way.
Huh? Oh, your food's here? See you later.
No, it'll be here in a minute.
Oh, well, what I'm saying is she can make me do stuff. That's true. I admit it. She can, but I do it when I want to.
Yeah.
But I still will do what she wants me to do.
Which you should. You gotta help out around your house.
Right. But I do it when I want to, so I feel like, I'm not a little bitch. She puts in her list of requests and then I fulfill them when I want to. As long as it's on the same day. Sing the song with your people. You know what, Swamp German? I thought I was Irish my whole life.
Because it's good enough.
Okay, you don't have to join, even though I'll be honest with you, I don't understand what a cold would have to do with anything. You can either sit there with a cold or you can be online with a cold.
With a cold.
That's what my grandma always said when somebody got a cold or something, and it was all like, well, you can have a cold here, you can have a cold at work. Does it really matter?
Hey, I've been on right after I've had surgery. I don't know why you bounce for a cold.
Right. And then, see, you do whatever you want, whenever you want. Yeah, you got that shit laid out like that. I do not. I do whatever she wants, basically, kind of, sort of, whenever I want.
Shadwell got that shit locked on lockdown. He's all that is man.
Like, I don't immediately jump out of the bed and run out to do what I'm told because I'm not a bitch. But I will eventually get to it.
Yeah, it's like when my old lady told me to shut up, I shut up. But when she leave, I'll be talking again.
I love that line.
I got mind control over Debo.
That was such a good line. He tells me to shut up, I shut up. But when he leave, I'll be talking again. So anyway, I got these mammoths hung our house. And these mammoths.
Those are badass mammoths.
They got a saddle up top and a big area in the back for people to sit down. Oh, constantly. Shadow, you're just a filthy, blood-sucking vampire. No one cares what you say.
Yeah, I didn't think that the undead could catch colds.
Right? I think he's just faking, trying to get somebody to like
come help him out so he can eat them.
Come help him out so he can fucking eat them. You're not fooling anybody, Shadow. Because I'll tell you what, vampires cannot be trusted, no matter if they look nice or not. You can never, ever trust a vampire, ever. And, I mean, if you think about it. Has anyone ever seen Shadwell in the sunlight? And if they have, it was probably AI anyway.
Probably.
Like he has a green screen behind him and he makes it look like he's in sunlight, but actually he's in his dungeon. Which I guess means Jackie's like his ghoul. Because, he don't want to embrace a child. That's just crazy. So he's raising the child as his own son. And when the son is old enough, he'll go ahead and embrace him as, his minion. Isn't that what the Giovanni do?
I think so.
Yeah, they like only embrace family members and I'm pretty sure that's how they do.
Right.
They only embrace family members, which means they have to raise the family members. So, yeah.
You're going to have to get up and grab the food. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I already said that I looked at that video really close, and it's pretty obvious it's green screened. Yeah, that's exactly what I feel like a vampire would say, It's like now that people are starting to catch on to your shenanigans, you're going to try and come out and be like, oh, no, I hate vampires. But I don't know.
Yeah, a vampire would say that they're not a vampire.
Especially if they knew that someone possibly capable of eliminating a vampire was kind of onto their vampireness. Right? They're going to talk shit because they know. Next thing you know, I'm catching a plane ticket to the deserts of California. It's gonna be like Fright Night, except starring me and you, and whoever you've got buried in the crawl space under your house.
We don't even want to open up that can of worms.
Well, I mean, because remember in Fright Night, the vampire, everyone he bit, he was like hiding them in the crawl space under his house.
Yeah, I'm just saying we don't want to open up the can of worms of the things that Shadow got buried.
And then, like, the Slayer ended up having to kill them all, including his girlfriend.
Yep.
Which is kind of harsh.
And his buddy McLovin.
That's the new one, though. The old one's good, too.
Yeah, they're both good.
Yeah. The only difference is, like, the first one, because they're like beat for beat the same movie. The first one had that Sarandon guy from The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
And the second one had the Irish guy from freaking In Bruges. What's his fucking name? Colin Farrell or whatever.
Yep.
And I think of the two, I'm a bigger fan of Colin Farrell.
Well, that makes sense.
Not that I think that whatever Sarandon did a bad job. I think he did a wonderful job. But I don't know. Colin Farrell is just a lot. I like the way he played the vampire better. Now back to what I was saying to the Swamp German. Swamp German, my whole life until like 15 years ago, I thought I was 100% Irish. This is how Irish I thought I was. Shamrock, knotwork, the whole 9 yards, right? And then, as you know, because you've been around, you've heard me say, I got my ancestry done. I found out I was 4% Irish.
It's not a big deal. We just traded our kilts for lederhosen.
Right. And trade in our shamrock tattoos for, I don't know, what's a good German tattoo to get?
Iron Cross.
Yeah, iron crosses and stuff. I mean,
Where the no symbol.
We could get what World War I Germans wore on their belt buckle. It was just a really fancy, like German script thing that said Gott uns Mick, I think, and it translates that basically the God is with us.
I just got a pretty little mountain flower.
Oh, we could get a little mountain flower.
This Weiss, Erica.
Yeah, the Edelweiss, or Weiss, as they would say, which that is not even a World War II song. That's a World War I marching song. That's kind of the problem is, like, I've got my World War I Prussian officer cosplay outfit, and like, constantly having to explain to idiots that this is a World War I Prussian infantry officer's uniform. This is not whatever you think it is. This is not that. Even though, honestly, I feel like if somebody wanted to cosplay as a Wehrmacht officer, they should be able to. I'll go even so far, because I'm an American, to say if somebody wanted to cosplay in Hugo Boss Black, they should be able to.
Yeah.
Because, unless they're on a street corner shouting shit out and carrying on like that, if it's just cosplay type shit, then who cares? Jackie for president 2045. If I'm alive, I would vote for him. Because what do we got? We're going to have Vance next, probably. And then at some point in the near future, we will have Don Jr., the giant. And then Jackie could slide in there. Maybe Rubio will be in there somewhere. I mean, I used to not be a fan of Rubio, but I'll tell you what, little Marco is really freaking come of age. But anyway.
All right, bro, I'm going to bounce out and eat.
You bounce out and eat, homie.
All right, love you.
I love you.
Bye.
What about cosplaying and okay, so you're saying like KKK stuff? Again, if it's appropriate cosplay for something, I have no problem with it, like, what if you were going to a con that's all about historical bullshit? Like, we have Huracan down here, and it's all about wargaming, and specifically, mostly historical wargaming, right? And so you're playing bolt action, and you show up in like a, standard Wehrmacht uniform, even a Soviet infantry uniform. Maybe you put together, because you got a lot of money, an American Airborne uniform. I mean, who gives a shit? Not me. I don't care. And there are people who will do that sort of stuff. Now, the whole white hood and stuff, that gets a little bit different. And I think it hits a little different, especially down here in the South. And it's hard to imagine, but yeah, I think people would be madder at you if you showed up in a white robe than they would if you showed up in black Hugo Boss, really. I mean, because one of them is something that happened over there somewhere, and the other one is something that happened here. So I wouldn't recommend it for yours and everyone else's personal safety, because you never know when some maniac's going to decide to, because we got a lot of weirdos in the country that think free speech only applies to them and means you can do whatever you want. And unfortunately, yeah, you could be attacked, and that's unfortunate, you know. I think the difference is, and I could be wrong here, and I see there's 9 of you, so you guys can tell me if I'm just stupid, and I might agree. But I think the major difference is if you're wearing the uniform as an educational thing, you know what I mean? Or if you're actually pushing an ideology. Now, me, I'm safe because once I tell people, look here, idiot, this is a World War I Prussian uniform, right? I mean, there really wasn't that much of an ideology there. It was just people duking it out through the trenches. But if you showed up in like a authentic Wehrmacht uniform, and the whole point was to, educate people on like how they lived and how they were equipped and blah blah blah, then yeah, I mean, I think up in Pennsylvania they have a LARPing unit that does nothing but World War II Germany. And if I remember correctly, they even have some like vehicles. They're not authentic Hanomags. They bought the OT whatevers from Czechoslovakia when Czechoslovakia stopped using them in like the 60s or whatever. And then they just, did a couple body modifications to make them look like Hanomag 2s, which are flat on the back. The original ones had this weird, complicated thing going on. Well, it's like I was talking to my niece, and she is of the sort that could be considered like an activist. And and don't take that as I don't love her. I love her to death, but she's kind of on that side. And I asked her point blank, I was like, let's say you're driving your car down the road and you see a guy dressed up as an SS officer mowing his lawn. What would you do? And she said, I would get out of my car and blah blah. And I cut her off and said, no, you're wrong. And she's like, what? I said, you're wrong. And she's like, why? I was like, because he's on his property mowing the lawn, which means he's not bothering anyone. And that also means you have no right to just run up and start running your mouth to somebody like that. I mean, why you would even think as a young lady that that's a choice you get, I don't even know. See, I had German tanks when I played Bolt Action. I had I had every army because you guys know how I am. Anytime I get into a miniatures game, I don't just buy a army. I buy all the fucking armies. And I had a German unit, and I had my favorite mid-war German tank, the Panzer 3L. And I'd peeled the aluminum label off of a wine bottle and cut it to size and painted it up and put the icon in there, or not icon, the transfer of a Yahtzee swastika in there, and then I crumpled it up and glued it across the back deck of the Panzer. And there were people who were like, oh my God. But every tournament I went to, the judges, if somebody complained about it, the judges was like, no, that's authentic. That is historically correct. That German tanks, especially in the West, would take the flag and put it across the back of the tank in the hopes that German air support, Stukas, would see the sign, the flag before they, hammered them into the ground, right? And I read up on it, and even in countries that have the strictest laws about that shit, like Germany or France, if you build a tank model and you put the actual historical accurate stuff on it, including that flag, it's legal. It only becomes illegal when you start actually pushing the ideology. Now, personally, mid-war, I liked playing my Germans quite a bit, but pretty quickly I moved on past the Germans to the Italians. And to this day, sometimes if you look behind me, you can see I've got like a company of Italian Caro Amatos, like I think they're M48s or whatever they are. Um, so basically, Fiat tanks with shitty 37 millimeter guns, and then like a bunch of Marios running around with them, you know. And I've had some really effed up battles too, like a Caro Amato and a platoon of Marios versus like a jumbo Sherman and a freaking platoon of American Airborne. It's like as soon as I seen that, I was like, yeah, this is not going to be good. I won that battle, by the way. The Caro Amato rolled nothing but sixes when it attacked that Sherman tank. So it was like hits, pins, blows it up. and the guy's sitting there and he's like, you just killed my damn Sherman M4A8 or some shit. And I'm like, and then once I took out the tank, the Caro Amato has 2 machine guns on it. So from then on, I never fired the main gun. I just ran around like gunning infantry down with machine guns, you know. And so what would I call that? Pure freaking luck is what I would call that. 100% pure freaking luck. And then I kept the Italians because I was so fond of them. But I ended up giving my German army away to John. So the basic expert, I gave him my entire German army base pretty much. I think the only thing I kept is the very first Panzer II I ever bought that's made out of resin instead of plastic. You know, my favorite, the Panzer III-L. And I kept 3 PZ-T38s. Or it's PZ-38T. And that's the tank that Czechoslovakia built, but the Germans, after the took over Czechoslovakia, they used them for the mid-war period quite a bit. And the main reason I kept the Panzer IIIs is just because or the Czech tanks is I just really like what they look like. You know what I mean? I would agree with that, PB. I mean, in China and Japan, they give a shit. Like, I was watching a YouTube video and there's like a Japanese restaurant, and everyone in the restaurant was dressed up like SS officers, and they had like the flags all over the place, and because they literally do not give a shit about that sort of stuff the way we do, you know. And the Chinese are exactly the same way, you know. There was like a clothing store that was having a sale, and part of the advertisement is like they decorated the whole store with, you know, NSDP flags, let's say. And, you know, do you think the Chinese gave a shit about it? No. I mean, you know, but we care as much as we do. And I've said this before, and I know it's an incredibly unpopular thing to say, but we care as much as we do because people who won World War II and spilt the blood and everything to make sure we could win World War II have been forced to feel guilty about World War II, even though we weren't the bad guys. But, you know, we have to feel guilty about it. And that's why there's museums all over the place so that we can go to, and sometimes, you have to for school or whatever, and see how horrible things were. And, after a while, though, it's like, hold on, though. We ended that. Like 100,000+ American soldiers died ending that. I mean, millions of Russians died. I don't know how many British died, but a lot of them died. And it's like, so why are we the ones being forced, to feel guilty about this thing that happened that we didn't do and that we literally spent tons of money and blood to stop? It's a mystery of the universe, you know? It is a mystery of the universe. But right now, I am primering for my fellow painters out there. I use the very thin white primer from Vallejo, and I just brush her on because, it's really hard to overdo it with this stuff because, like I said, it's very thin, and the coverage is amazing. So this stuff you can basically, as long as you're paying attention, you can put a nice thin coat on, and the coverage will be great. And then I recommend waiting about 12 hours for it to actually fully, dry, cure, whatever. But I will be honest with you guys, I've also waited 30 minutes and painted over it, right? And I'm sure there's probably some difference, but I didn't notice. So there's that. But this guy will probably be the same ruddy fur color as the other ones, except that then I'll have to go in and paint, the thing on the back and the saddle and the shields and all the armor and everything. And that'll make it even more interesting. And especially since the cleric in the group insists on like driving their mammoth all over the damn place, it may turn out that we have a actual combat in game where the mammoth has to be involved. Because I mean, if they're riding the mammoth across the freaking Lug wastes or something and they get jumped by a shit ton of bandits or something like that, then yeah. And luckily, I have so many extra infantrymen, or not infantrymen, listen at me. I have so many medieval and dark age cavalry laying around that I've already found a set of legs that will actually sit perfectly on the saddle. So I can put the legs on and then find whatever body I want to put on it. And maybe it will look like, or maybe I'll just do that for the NPC one, not the one that Hungar actually drives. But I also, just because, got a woolly rhino, and it's all saddled up and everything too. Because I just thought it'd look really cool. And it's quite a bit bigger than the other woolly rhino. I mean, the other woolly rhino is like, I don't know, like two-thirds the size, but yeah. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, about Bear. If I were him and I were selling products because of stuff I say, I don't know if I'd hang out with me. You know what I mean? Would be, oh my God, he hangs out with that, and that guy said some stuff, and so let's boycott everything that Zeg Media does, blah, blah, blah. Never mind. My brain. Go on other people's. Like I used Max Lau's channel quite a bit, actually. And I stopped. But when I went on Max Lau's channel, I would also say, I'd also the little warning, everything I say is my opinion and my opinion only. Please don't blame Legion of Myth for anything I say, you know? So there is a blessing today purchased for himself. He hasn't got it yet, I don't think. A copy of the Orthodox Study Bible. Which is about the best one you can get unless you speak Keene Greek. You know, if you speak ancient Greek, then obviously you want the Greek one. But as the vast majority of us around here do not speak, you know, ancient Greek, then this is the next best thing, you know. And I mean, even most Greek people don't speak Keene Greek because, yeah, it's ancient. And I'll tell you something a lot of people don't know. Like, the Bible was originally written in Greek. And the reason is, in that part of the world, it had been like thoroughly Hellenized by Alexander and the generals that followed him. On top of that, the Romans a lot of time would use Greek scribes and stuff. So Greek kind of was the language of the educated. And then, like, where you think, say, the priests of the temple would be writing and speaking in Hebrew, they weren't, because Hebrew had been a dead language for 1,000 years before that. They were probably speaking Aramaic. And Jesus, if he wasn't speaking Greek, was speaking Aramaic, which, of course, I don't want to get into a whatever, but let's be honest, anytime he spoke, no matter what the native language of the people was, they always understood him, which is a great ability to have, I would think, you know. It's like the reverse of tongues, maybe, or the spell tongues. Like, wherever you go and whoever you talk to, they always know exactly what you're saying and can comprehend it. That is a pretty cool thing, right? Like the Dead Sea Scrolls are not written in Hebrew; they're written in Aramaic, and parts of them are in Greek. I always thought that was funny too, because my pops has a statue of Moses holding the 10 Commandments. And I would always look at it, especially back when I was studying Hebrew, and I'd always be like, those are not Hebrew letters, right? And eventually, because I'm a curious little guy, I found out that on the statue of Moses holding the 10 Commandments, the writing's in Greek. I was like, huh. Okay. Good stuff. You all went quiet. PB came in there with the mad lad take on the man in the high tower, and now everybody's like, or maybe it was me saying, I don't understand why we gotta be guilt tripped about the Holocaust when we're the ones that fought like hell to end it. As a matter of fact, instead of being guilt tripped, you'd think there'd be a day every year where like they would be like, thank you for saving us, we appreciate it, but that day don't exist. Which just goes to show, in my opinion, how backwards the world is. The heroes get punished, the not heroes, been, prosper. It's the way it is. That's just the way it is. Some things will never change. That's just the way it is. But don't you believe it? Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's like, you guys are trying to see who can be more stubborn. I guarantee you I can when it comes to like not talking. So I'm just going to sit here and paint miniatures and hope that at some point, we get a little communication going on in the chat, right? A little bit of whatever. I will look up occasionally, though. Also, it was really nice of Double D to pop in the other day. It was really nice of him. That's just the way it is. Some things they never change. So that's just the way it is. But don't you believe it? What an interesting character. What is going on here? Yeah, I see you soon. Also, that video you wanted to whatever, I did that. So you and I are officially something where I basically share your videos onto my channel so people can see them. I forget what they even called it in that program, but yeah, we're collaborators. We collaborate with each other. Man, oh man. Mm.
Okay. Got another hour, I guess, before. Damn. Am I boring my own self? Well, I'm going to count shadow. So I'll start rambling again. A lot of times I start with flesh on different miniatures, especially if the miniature has a lot of exposed flesh, because I use this Gilliman contrast, which sometimes can be a bit darker than I would like for some figures. And which means I'm 100% already know that I'm going back and doing highlights and stuff. So, I don't really get so bent if I accidentally get paint in an area that I know I'm going to go back and fix anyway. So there's that. Now, you will notice a lot of the characters I've been holding up to show you are on 32 mil bases, which are, the bases Space Marines use. And the reason for that is very simply just the fact that the miniatures wouldn't fit on a 25 because of their stance or whatever, And I'm talking about miniatures I bought from Reaper, so you know what I mean? You would think Reaper would make miniatures to fit on 25s, and they do some of them, but a lot of them are so big and in such like poses that they just are not going to fit. See, this old girl I think is going to be really easy to paint. It's a barbarian woman. And, the boots, the loincloth, the top, and the hair is basically all we got here, right? The hair is all dreaded up. So, I don't know. I'll find a nice gray for that, or not gray, brown. And then a lot of it's just going to be leather, like snakebite leather, because one, I love snakebite leather. It's my favorite contrast paint of all time. And two, she's a barbarian running around in the wilderness, making her clothes and everything out of leather. So, it makes sense. And then I have a thing to do that's going to be hopefully cool, but, in my brain, I see the thing I'm going to paint as being like super cool, but that don't mean it will be super cool. It just means I think it might. I might actually paint it and then be like, God, this sucks, which would mean reprimering the parts I don't like so that I can paint over them. So, yeah. Of course, sometimes I will paint a miniature and realize I really don't like the look of the miniature, but I'll leave it as is just because, just because I don't necessarily care for the color combination on the miniature doesn't mean some other person won't like it. Hey, what's up, Squirrel Hermit? So, and so sometimes I have to remember that I'm not necessarily painting miniatures just for me. Like if I'm sitting here painting up, player classes or NPCs and stuff, I can't just paint them all up in my favorite colors because they'd all be just red and black, right? With maybe a dash of purple or blue on them. And that would get pretty boring pretty quick, I would think. So sometimes I have to go outside my comfort zone and paint miniatures up in ways I normally wouldn't. I just accidentally painted old girl's shoulder with snake bite leather where I'd missed it with the flesh tone. But like I said, won't matter because I will go back at some point and highlight the flesh, just taking a slightly lighter shade and going over all the musculature where it sticks out, and nobody will ever know that I made that mistake when they look at her. So, boom. Paint her top. She's wearing a top, which I should hope so. Can you imagine running around with like those things hanging off your chest and like doing barbarian stuff? That'd be painful, man. I mean, as a guy who has dated women with incredibly large hoo-has, let me tell you, man, those things got to be wrapped up if you're going to do anything active, or it's just going to be pain. Pain. So I think I'm going to make her blonde. And the reason is because I look at her and I see pretty much a Viking, some kind of Norse tribe. Yeah, Shadwell caught a cold trying to break into my house the other night. I banished him with holy water out of the toilet. That's what he gets. Luckily, the vast majority of the time, my toilets are very clean. But there's always that couple percent of the time when it looks like a big pot of beef stroganoff exploded in there. And then I got to go in there and fix it because I'm a weirdo and I do not allow my wife to touch dirty things like that. I would much rather do it than to subjugate her to it. I'm sure she would because she used to have her own place before we got serious, and I know for a fact she probably cleaned up everything because she's a very, very clean person. But I let her handle the kitchen and stuff, and I do the dirty stuff. All right, so I have got Bad Moon Yellow Contrast Paint. Now, even though I normally like Vallejo and their Express paint, let me tell you something. The best yellow that you are ever going to get in a contrast paint form is Bad Moon Yellow. I've used every kind of yellow you can think of at one point or another. And the reason is because my primary army when I played Warhammer 40K was Lamenters, right? That was my army. The good old Lamenters. And so, yeah, at one time or another, I've tried every color of yellow. And the only one that allowed me to like quickly get the primary paint scheme on a Lamenter Space Marine was this one. And then I decided to get rid of my Lamenters, and now I regret it. I still have a few of them laying around, but kind of wish I'd kept them because they were actually like way above average painted. I'm not going to say pro painted or any stupid shit like that, but I mean, they had the Lamenter shoulder pads perfect, everything perfect, and I built my entire Lamenter's army by buying tactical Marines and damn it, remember. Oh, the Black Company, the Marines that go crazy, you know. So obviously I wouldn't use any of the parts from the Death Company that was really, really specifically Death Company, right? But I would combine like the fancy Death Company parts with the standard Marine parts, and then also, 3D printed Lamenter shoulder pads for their chapter, and then paint them up. And man, they made me feel really good because every time I went to the comic shop with that army, people would just like, they would always come over to the table I was playing on and just look at them and be all like, how did you do this? And the reality was a lot of time, because I had one shift on, then 2 days off, more money than I even want to consider currently, and an obsession to have the best painted Space Marine chapter. And even though I've always played Blood Angels, I had like 2 armies of Blood Angels, and I decided let's do something weird, right? So I painted up 2,500 points of Lamenters. They had a Land Raider. They had their own Death Company, but with the Lamenters, their Death Company wears bone colored armor. I mean, it's still got all the red X's and stuff on it, but it still has all the red crosses, but instead of wearing black, they wear bone, and which I think makes them look badass, right? And a lot of times the chaplains that lead them wear this bone colored armor, and again, kind of makes them look kind of badass, And then you've got all your Lamenter guys running around. And for my main character, for my army, I bought the metal Pedro Cantor, and man, it was a pain in the ass, but I used files and whatever to get rid of everything on him that let you know it was Pedro Cantor, the chapter master of the Crimson Fists, and replaced everything with like Blood Angels icons and stuff that I needed to, like the scroll cases and knives and shit. And then he got painted up Lamenters style with all the, that guy was a pain in the ass, but man, on the table, He looked really good. Now, did I ever beat anyone in a tournament or anything with my Lamenters? No. Absolutely not. Never even one time. And I didn't care. Because no matter who I played against at the comic shop, except for one guy, my army looked better than theirs on the table. And that's like, you know. Now, when I say except for one guy, there was a dude that hung out in our comic shop, and he only ever played Craft World Elder. Of course, back then they were just called Elder and not whatever they're calling them now. And this dude was like a 100% for real artist. You know what I mean? So, like, he would paint up his wave serpents, and they would have like intertwining freaking thorn bush shit drawn all over them. And like, he would have one thing that would have like an elder goddess, you know, on the side of this thing painted up like a mural or something. And yeah. I mean, sometimes you just gotta accept things, right? And he was a really good dude, and I really liked him, and I'm kind of sorry we fell out of touch because he won a bunch of painting competitions because honestly, no one could compare to anything he painted. And then after he'd won like a bunch of them, I guess 3 or 4, he decided to remove himself from all the painting competitions and volunteer if the store, tournament, staff, whatever, needed an extra person to help judge. Because, I mean, you're talking basically about a guy that could win at will, you know? If he put something in the painting competition, you weren't winning. You know, it just wasn't happening. And the person who won the painting competition, they actually got decent prizes. So for him to do what he did was an actual sacrifice, you know, because he was giving up like prizes and boxes of miniatures and shit like that. And he could have got them every time if he'd wanted, but he decided, nah, let someone else win for a change. And, you know, it's real cool. That's real cool of him. He was a good guy. I hope he's still alive. He was much older than me, and he was so hardcore into Warhammer 40K, he owned an Elder Titan. And I don't mean an Elder Knight like I have up there that belongs to Haas, a Titan. And every now and then he'd bring it in and just set it up. And man, that thing was painted up. It is like, you'd be envious, you know what I mean? Ancient Honey. I will have to look at that. I may even have it because I bought the big Army Painter box. But the yellow that Army Painter, this Zealot yellow, it's orange. Right? It's not yellow, it's orange. And so that's not, I don't find that to be super cool. But, you know, whatever. Whatever. So, yeah. Tomorrow he'll be ready to paint. He'll be pretty fast, I think, since I'm going to use basically 3 or 4 main colors and then the metallics. So he's going to be ruddy fur. His antlers will probably, or antlers, tusks will probably be bag of bones. And then the leather will be snakebite leather. The wood will be, I have the wood color. And then the armor is going to be probably plate mill. I want to shine. And then the shields will maybe be bronze. You know what I mean? Just to mix it up. But yeah. Bag of Bones, that's another one of my favorite colors for the speed paints or express paints or whatever. It's a really useful color. You can use it for a lot of things. And I will 100% mix colors. Yeah, I mean, I know they're express, whatever, but I'll mix them. I'll thin them down and turn them into washes. You know, I do all kinds of shit. Okay, I need this. I need to paint. The only thing not painted on this girl is the haft of her axe. And then, you know, I'll come back and highlight the musculature, but other than that, she is done. As far as the painting goes, she is 100% done. So, boom. And I'll probably do all the muscles on her with a darker flesh, like a tan flesh. And that way, you know, that'll make her look even more like weathered, and, you know, it'll make her look like somebody that's been running around the steps or whatever in the hell she's been doing. And, you know, sleeping in the dirt under the sky. And that sort of thing, you know. I mean, barbarians, I usually like to do their skin like a tanned color. Even if we're talking about European barbarians, you know, like Celts or Germans or something. A lot of times I like to do the bodies, the tan color, to represent the fact that they're running around in the wilderness all the time and not hanging out inside of houses, staying out of the sun, you know. Whereas if I paint a mage and I'm painting her to be like a European looking mage, I'll paint them pale, like elf flesh and stuff like that. And the reason I do it is because in my mind, that mage has spent so much time in classrooms and everything that they're probably going to be a little pasty looking, you know what I mean? Yeah, definitely going to throw some bronze on there. Squirrel, definitely some bronze. Got to have some bronze. But yeah, so I'm going to sit her aside for a minute and let her dry and everything. And then I'll come back and I'll actually highlight, you know, her muscles, because she's definitely got some muscles. This girl's been running around, working out, lifting rocks and shit. So I'll pick the muscles out. I have a couple of barbarians that are waiting for, you know, me to come back and do their muscles. So a couple of barbarians I've done some weapon swaps on. You know. Yeah. Yeah, that guy. He just needs his He just needs his grass, and he's ready. I know I shake a lot, but that's a legionnaire. That's a veteran legionnaire. So, you know. So he'll get, yeah. I've got a basically a quite a few of these guys laying around. I think I was thinking at one point that I was going to make an army of Romans for some game or other, and then didn't. But I still built a shit ton of them and painted them. It's kind of like the Greeks, which I've removed from my stand. I think at one point I was going to make a big Greek army. And then I got like, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 of them painted up and all this sort of thing. And then I just kind of never played a game with them. So, you know, I'm going to check out this Horde Bronze real quick, though, since I just got this. I want to use it on something. I think I already did use it on something, and now I don't even know what it was. Did I already use it on something? And why can't I remember? Let's do this and see how I feel about it. I feel like it needs to be shaken a little bit more. Again. And if I rest my elbow on the table, you guys will all get motion sickness. But anyway, these guys I need to get off the table. I should paint the eyes, but they're done. I've got a pair of these freaking axe peaks. Like I've said, and I know a lot of you have heard me say this already, playing in Hyperborea has caused me to realize that there are a lot of monsters that I kind of should have and don't. If I want to use miniatures, right? Because I mean, you ain't got to use miniatures, but like mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, freaking saber-toothed cats, pretty much all of the animals that lived during the like Neolithic period, you know, you kind of need them because, you know, they're a major part of the setting, you know, especially if you head towards the middle of the continent where it will slowly turn into a tundra, which means at some point, I've got some short-faced cave bears. At some point, I might need to order a couple more of these guys and paint them like polar bears, you know? Unless Reaper has polar bears, in which case, you know, buy the Reaper polar bears. Reaper made the cave bear, the short-faced bear that I bought. So, yeah, I mean, I've actually become a much bigger fan of Reaper lately because their sculpts, a lot of them are way better than they used to. Depending on what material you order, the material's way better. And Reaper sometimes has miniatures that you just can't find anywhere else, you know. So when you're playing a weird fantasy setting, as I am, and you need, you know, a pack of raptors or something like that, I mean, sometimes Reaper's the only place you're going to get them. It's just the way it is. And, you know, so as far as that, yeah. Plus, I've got some of the boats and stuff that Reaper sells just because sometimes they make good terrain pieces. If the players are hanging out down at the docks, you can like lay your little dock piece down, put a couple boats. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is in Hyperborea, there are no dragons, except they call every dinosaur a dragon. And that's an interesting thing, which, you know, Conan did the same thing, but a little bit of a history lesson. It wasn't until like 1800 something that people started calling dinosaurs dinosaurs. I mean, they were digging up their bones and trying to assemble them. They knew they existed. They weren't denying them, but they called them dragons. And then somebody's like, no, we must not call them dragons. We will call them dinosaurs. And everybody else said, oh, okay. Whereas me being the contrarian, I would have been like, no, they're dragons. And I'm not changing it because, you know, I mean, why would you change it? And if they said because, you know, the dragon is a mythological creature, you'd be like, these aren't, you know, we know these dragons lived. But science is a cruel mistress. Because once the majority of scientists believe that things are away, good luck. If you come up with a theory that at all goes against whatever their orthodoxy is, they will belittle you, drag you, talk shit, try and make you out to be a kook or a crazy person. The last thing they'll do, though, is actually investigate what you're talking about. And I see my science talk is going over real well with everybody. So even if some guy comes up with a system or a belief or a theory or whatever it is, even if it's obviously stupid, like the flat earth thing, you still, as a scientist, kind of need to look into it, you know? And then when you prove that the flat earth guys are full of shit, you know, show them the evidence that they're full of shit, you know? And then if they don't want to believe you and they want to just go about their life being dumb, I mean, you did your best, you know? You did your best. You tried to be like, look, stop being a dumbass. You know, the world is not flat. And if they're like, yeah, it is, and I don't believe you because you work for big map making or big globe or whatever, then honestly, in a more perfect world, those kind of people would be gathered up and stuck in insane asylums. It can to some people, yeah. And the worst is people who become so enamored of science that they ignore common sense to follow the science. And it's like, oh my God, you know. One thing about modern science I really am not a fan of is how political it is and how just so many people will believe two things that are completely opposed, but they seem to be okay with it, you know? And you're just like, well, if you're me, you're like, wait, what? I'll tell you what, when I was young, one of my favorite things in the world was dinosaurs. I absolutely loved them. Like a lot of young boys, you know. My mom bought me those damn Time Life books or whatever that had all the dinosaurs, and I dreamed about dinosaurs and I dreamed about finding them and all this stuff. I was so infatuated with dinosaurs, right? And then I remember I had one of the books and it showed like this possum looking creature. And it said how this possum looking creature was like one of the first like mammal looking things, right? And immediately, I thought, damn, that is so cool, right? But then as I read the article, it said this picture is based on bones found, you know, wherever the hell they found them in China or something. And then it showed the bones they found, and it was like one knuckle bone and like one tiny piece of a lower jaw. And that is when my love for dinosaurs become a lot more antagonistic, because I started feeling like I'd been lied to my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, you drew a prehistoric possum based on a knuckle bone and the tiniest bit of a jaw. It's like, yeah, that led me to believe that a lot of these archaeologists that are supposedly out here digging shit up, a lot of them are just making shit up. Like, unless they actually find a whole skeleton, like they did with Annie or whatever her name is, the T-Rex, a lot of these people are making shit up based on the most limited of information. Like when they made the Spinosaurus, which they still can't make up their damn mind about, they based that on like a claw, a tooth, a tiny bit of what they think is the cell, but have, you know, no freaking idea whether it actually is or not. Just somebody said, I think this might be the cell. And they made this dinosaur, and then they made it super popular. And they had it fight T-Rex in a Jurassic Park movie. And it's like, yeah, you have zero evidence of what this thing might look like. You're just literally just making it up. You are bullshitting. As what's her name said, when Mel Brooks said he was a stand-up philosopher. And she said, oh, a bullshit artist. You know? And he's like standing there, and she's like, have you bullshitted anyone today? Have you tried to bullshit anyone this week? Yeah, that was funny. He's standing in the fucking welfare line trying to get unemployment because Mob was being hardcore about it. And then there's Mob. Guten Nacht. That's German for good night.
Yeah.
You don't speak German, though.
I don't know. That's correct. German's
and
not
I don't know how to say good night in Danish. So I suppose we'll just use English.
Yeah, it's
It
good
is
enough.
evening over there, right?
It is. Yeah, it's about 10 to 10.
Oh.
So yeah, no, I've been listening into you talking about how basically science can become a bit of its own religion or political, and how it's affected your interest in dinosaurs when they started showing you how they were basing things. It's like, okay, that makes sense.
Well, because when they found Annie in where was that? New Mexico, Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, they found the whole damn skeleton. So there's no debating that shit. We at least know what the bones of a T-Rex looks like, even though they
Yeah.
keep changing their mind about whether they had feathers and all that shit. But yeah, when they show some dinosaur and then you see what they base the appearance of the dinosaur on, it's like, so you're just bullshitting me.
I think like when they showed the bones for a rabbit to them, they would make this really obscure, like really weird looking creature, because they were basically following just like how the spine was, where the feet was, and it looked like this thing that was kind of nightmarish, like very anorexic. And then they revealed, no, this is actually the skeletons of a rabbit. But again, it goes to show that we have no clue. There's no way for us to really, go and verify what it is that's really being talked about.
Yeah. How do you verify something that is millions of years old?
No, exactly.
And that the fossils you have represent less than a percentage of all the fossils that could have been, or the living things. And that's before you even think about like shit like octopus and, like cephalopods.
Yeah,
They got
exactly.
no bones. It's like,
Oh, that's just been decomposed all the way down.
yeah, there's just nothing to find there. But yeah, when I was a little kid, that kind of made me, I'm not saying I totally hated dinosaurs, but it made me really think hard about it.
No, I can imagine, yeah.
Like how's this guy know? I mean, you find a knuckle bone and you draw, like I said, a possum looking creature, but for all you know, that thing had like 6 legs,
Yeah.
spines all over it. It could have really been a nightmare. And because we don't have any evidence, we're just going to say it's, whatever. And the other thing that kind of has me feeling this way, Saxius, is that guy who may be completely full of shit, as an aside, who come out with the Younger Dryas theory and all that.
Yeah.
And then there's another scientist that came out with this really weird Neanderthal theory.
Right.
And I'm just like, so they basically get attacked and constantly belittled and told they're crazy kooks. But I'm sitting here being like, but how do you know? You've done no research.
Well, that's the thing. It always typically it sort of falls back to is like, well, what have we done to verify anything? What's really been done?
Right. And it's like, okay, he's showed you what he thinks is his information. So now you have to
go and like
find something to replace his information with your own hypothesis, But instead, they just say, that guy's crazy.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, Tim. And yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of opining about a little bit. Just
that's fair. And again, like it's understandable.
Well, I mean, I would love to know things, but like you said, there are just some things that we're not going to know because we just can't know.
No, exactly. Like it is.
For all we know, like during like some of those early epochs, the whole world could have been completely dominated by green slimes that just kind of crawled around eating everything. And like all the animals had to be fast to get away from these freaking giant amoeboid things. Like the blob.
Exactly. Like we have no clue, and it's the same as like, because I kept on being told like we've only like explored 2% of the ocean. I was like, okay, we've got no idea what's going on. Like, and I would certainly believe it if a scientist turns around and says, okay, well, we find species all over the time. It's like that's great.
And they do, though. That's the thing. They do in the modern day.
I mean,
discover it's like a new breed of spider or ant every month.
Yeah, especially in Australia.
Australia got to have all the fun stuff.
And in the Amazon, man, the guys that go into the Amazon jungle, I mean, they're finding shit like crazy stuff, right? And then the dudes who send the cameras down to the ocean depths, and they find like T-posing freaking octopi and cephalopods that are literally T-posing at you. Like, what the hell is that even doing?
Well, I was also like, I think there's a guy that went on like Joe Rogan's show, and he was talking about like how he would go into like the deep rainforest to like find snakes that would be like, I don't know, like 30 odd feet long or like ridiculous numbers like that, so that he could start studying those spiders, not spiders, but those snakes, because there was a fascination to him. It was it's a part of the world where we're only really getting access to them because we're cutting down so much of the forest.
Right.
And
it is a fact. I don't know if you know this, Saxius, but it is an actual proven fact that a green anaconda can get 30 feet.
Oh, no. I believe these things. It's just I've never gone out of my way to actually
verify it.
Yeah, like it's just one of those.
Well, this guy ain't even verifying. He's wading through a swamp, filling around to try to grab one of these things.
Exactly.
And it's like, if things go bad, you're getting grabbed.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to go well. I don't think you want to do this. This seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, he's got several, stories where he basically says like, yeah, I grabbed this snake, and the snake, because I had just recently eaten, was just turned around and looked at me and was like, is this what you want to do? And I realized at that point, I was like, I better let go of the tail, because that snake is not up for it today.
This thing's like, you could just die here. I don't think you want to do that.
How about you wander on and save me the trouble of just eliminating you from the freaking gene pool, buddy? Yeah. Oh, well, it's like when people find out how long some of those saltwater crocodiles get, and they're what? It's like, those things get as big as a freaking school bus, They're huge. I mean, see, that kind of shit I don't argue about. And things like killer birds, like axe beaks and shit like that. I don't argue about basically anything from like the Paleolithic and Neolithic era. I don't argue about, because we found them. Solid, frozen in a glacier somewhere. We know mammoths used to exist. Fucking Russians dug one up out of the ice and ate it. So, I mean,
that doesn't seem like the best idea either. I mean, this is like an ancient thing, and you just decide to eat it?
Well, they dug it up, and it was completely fresh from being, fast frozen in the tundra. And they thought, let's try a little bit of this shit. And they cut a couple steaks and grilled them up. I mean, and it was a baby mammoth too. It wasn't even like a full-grown one.
Oh, God.
And they're just like, yeah, let's do this. Why? Because let's be honest, guys.
Everybody knows it. I mean, the first thing that people did when they found the coelacanth still existed was try to eat it.
Yeah, it turns out they're horrible.
Yeah.
They're just the worst. But like I said, it's Russia. They're going to do something stupid at some point. Like, all you got to do is go on YouTube and type in "meanwhile in Russia," and you will see the craziest shit you ever saw. Like, how is this possible? How are they not dead?
It's either Russia or Florida.
I'm just saying, the fact that all they did was eat the mammoth steak is really the story there. There's so
Fair.
much other weird shit they could have tried with that thing.
Try
but-
cloning it.
That's a thing they actually have been talking about, like taking African elephant, like taking an African elephant egg, ovum, and seeing if they can impregnate it with a mammoth sperm, which wouldn't really create a mammoth, but would create a hybrid. mammoth.
Hybrid, yeah.
It's probably the closest we can get.
Now,
Yeah,
Oh.
because we don't have any mammoths, but we might be able to bring a thing like it back. Or you can listen to the stories from the Canuckastanians up in Saskatchewan that swear up and down they've seen mammoths. But as Bear would say, that could just be the Indians pulling a fast one over on the white man, you know?
yeah.
Like
It's
the white
impossible.
guys up there and the Indians are like, oh yeah, there's definitely mammoth up there. It's like, what? Okay. All right. But yeah, I gotta clean like crazy today because my sister-in-law and her husband are coming over, and
Oh, man.
if I don't get things clean, my wife will kill me.
I'm going to soon need to wash off my boots. It's been muddy.
Flush out your boobs.
No, wash out my boots. Boots.
Oh,
It's got all muddy.
Oh,
yeah.
I
Squirrel.
heard the first thing right, and then I heard that it's a lot of money. I'm like, oh, okay. To flush out your boots costs a lot, apparently.
Well, I said wash out, but yeah.
I agree with you,
Rinse it off.
Andre. I agree with you. That whole, get the shot. It's like, but now what's weird, and I'm only going to mention this in passing because I don't want to turn it into a thing, is that apparently a very famous Jeffrey guy was talking to some other very famous people trying to figure out a way in which they might decrease the population of certain people groups that they really, really didn't like because they were worried about becoming a minority in their particular little desert nation state. And so some people wonder if COVID might not have been a shot at that.
I would say it probably hasn't been the best shot that they could have done.
No,
That's-
no. But I guess you want to. Okay, here's my idea. What if them yelling up and down about the disease was a trick to get you to take the thing that's actually going to kill you?
Well, purely hypothetical.
Purely hypothetical in
Yeah.
Minecraft and everything else we got to say.
Yeah. I'd be quite curious how that's going to be going down because those shots were what 3 years ago now, more 4, give or take.
My son-in-law's best friend, he got, the thing, and he died 3 days later, and he was like 27, massive cardiac.
Right.
And
who-
there are
who knows
some
the
states
who
that
knows
have,
the long-term effects?
yeah, there's some states that have literally tried. Not tried. There's some states that are trying to arrest the doctor in charge of these things
Yep.
and charge him with the murder of like hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know who else tried that shit? The Japanese during World War II at that.
Yeah,
like,
they did
Section
some
11
horrible
or
thing.
whatever they called it.
Yeah, those units.
Yeah, they were trying to create a virus that would target Caucasians.
They did a whole bunch of terrible things there.
But I what Squirrel Hermit said. So in the end, Squirrel Hermit, yes, there be dragons. And I like in the gaming end, I am painting up a bunch of Neolithic animals for my Hyperborea game because, as I've told you before, I think, Sax,
Yep.
this game, for whatever reason, has a lot of that. And they don't have dragons, but they have dinosaurs and they call them dragons. So, like, if you're in the jungles of the Lemurian continent there, and you run into a T-Rex or an Allosaurus or a Carnosaurus or something, you would think it's a jungle. It would be described as a dragon.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it was like in real life. I think that what they used to call dragons are what we now call dinosaurs.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I do know in the Conan universe, when he fought a T-Rex, he thought it was a dragon.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, wouldn't that be a thing? I mean, they look kind of similar in certain ways. And, I mean, you just embellish it, say, hey, they had fire breath. Because why not? It makes you sound cooler when you kill one.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
Again, I could be wrong on that one, but hey, it's my thought on that.
It's not your fault. I mean,
Thought.
having a thought about something is not your fault. It just means you have a thought about something. It could be right, it could be wrong, but it's not anything to apologize for.
I'm not apologizing. I didn't say anything about apologizing.
But when you say it's my fault, the
I didn't say that.
insinuation is you're sorry for it.
I
I
thought
didn't
he was
say that.
saying thoughts.
Thought.
THOUGHT.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's
then I
gonna be right.
misheard him because I'm
Yeah.
deaf.
That's fair enough.
Nobody understands me. I've already resigned myself to that.
That's because you're from the fucking swamps of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what you're saying. It's like go plant some potatoes or something.
I can't even say that actually because my family keeps doing that too. I'll say something and they don't understand me.
That's what I'm saying. Go plant some potatoes or something, you potato-headed Mick.
You know, I'm
Actually, you're
potato-headed Mick.
English, though, aren't you?
Probably about half English, half Irish.
So that's why you're constantly punching yourself in the face.
Possibly.
That's a paddling. Yeah, and that's just, I don't know. That's one of the reasons I used to really like Raven when she would show up. Because Raven believed all the woo-woo shit. Or at least she would talk about it. And I just found that to be super interesting, even though I didn't believe most of it. Her and I had a really great conversation one night about Bigfoots.
Yep.
In which she kept trying to say they were extra dimensional blah, blah, blahs. And I kept arguing back that there may just be a large primate that we haven't discovered because they're smart enough and to not be discovered, especially if they live in the taiga and shit. I mean, am I saying it's likely? I'm not saying it's likely, but if Bigfoot exists, it's probably just a really big primate that it could be a Gigantopithecus or some shit that somehow lived. It could be one of our cousins. I mean, the hominid branch, geez, there's like so many different hominids in that, I mean, but from another dimension, I'm like, no. Bigfoot is not alien from another dimension sent here to like help you win the lotto or whatever the fuck you're doing. And then we used to get Bear so aggravated because she would bring up ley lines, and Bear would get super freaking worked up about the ley lines, which meant, of course, that I had to try to justify her belief.
Right.
But of course, I did it like without the woo woo. I did it by saying, well, we do know that the earth is constantly being belted all the way around with various magnetic rivers, basically. So, what if you're dealing with magnetism just doing weird shit? Because, sometimes magnetism will do weird shit.
How do magnets work? I don't know. They just do.
Oh my God. That is the funniest thing ever. Saxius in America, we have a band, and of course they're from Michigan because only Michigan could they be from.
Right.
And in their song, one of the characters, the rappers, literally says, magnets, how do they work? And I don't want to hear a scientist telling me shit because they be lying and shit.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, I have heard of them.
Miracles. And it's like, actually, I'm pretty sure they do know how magnets work at a subatomic level.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I mean, if that's a serious question, then all right. Well, it's
Yeah, don't be a filthy glober. And then at one point,
Funny part is that the Insane Clown Posse, I didn't know that. I only knew that joke because of like a little TV, or not TV, like it was a YouTube series called Battlefield Friends. And there was like the Colonel 100 was like playing both Battlefield, like Battlefield 4 and Hardline at the same time. And he was like, how are you doing that? I don't know. How do magnets work? They just do.
because obviously, I mean, they made this song, which technically was a good message about appreciating the things around you and all this. But they said some shit in it that were so stupid that it was hilarious. Like at one point, the one guy says, and they're talking about miracles, mind you, which are things that are beyond explanation. They just, supernatural type shit, right? And he says, my son looks like me, and his partner's son looks like him. And I'm sitting here thinking, maybe that's a miracle in Detroit, but in the rest of the world, we just call that genetics, that your kids will probably pick up some of your traits along the way. And it was just like, these guys. But then again, they made another song about how everybody should get together on their own. They have a private island up in Michigan called Juggalo Island. And like the chorus is like, let's all get together and let our nuts hang in the water. And so that song's hilarious too, because again, it's this message of togetherness and brotherhood and everything. And in the middle of it, he's talking about letting his nuts hang in the water. And you're just like, what is wrong with these guys?
I'm going to guess a lot.
Yeah, well, they grew up in Detroit. That's the first thing wrong with them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just like ley lines, magnets are magical mystery. Why y'all scientists be lying? Yeah, right. Y'all be lying and telling me shit. I have no idea, honestly, about ley lines. I do know there's magnetism and that it changes around, and sometimes the core of our planet changes and tilts and does weird shit because I don't know why it does it. It just likes to do it.
It just works.
Yeah, it's just doing what it's doing. Hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Mwah, how was work? Okay. Would you do me a favor? Would you drag the vacuum cleaner out into the living room for me so I can get right on it instead of having to? Thank you. But yeah. That's a real thing. Meanwhile, Saxius is busy living in the United Kingdom of Emilia.
Yeah. Emilia.
The purple-haired goth chick that
Oh yeah,
the
right.
government tried to make the bad guy, but it turns out
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
loved
that
her.
was funny. I never thought I'd see the day that I'd witness a government-sponsored video game, and then they did such a terrible job that people literally just went, "What do you mean this is the bad ending? I get a girlfriend, I get kids, I get to have all this. What's wrong with you? This isn't a bad ending. This no, like someone
I
here
get
has
kids.
actual principles."
We actually try to take our country back. Yeah.
Well, regardless of the politics behind it, just if you're talking about the aesthetics, everybody needs to take and be like, note to self, never make the cute goth chick the bad guy.
It's just
You've already
It's
lost
not
it.
going to
they,
work.
it's no exactly. It's again, it's one of those things of like they've asked people who does not understand what makes video games fun to make a video game. And it's like you want someone to be bad, you really need to make sure they're like, oh, I am taking away things from you. I'm doing these things, and here you have a cutie, someone that starts, going like, oh, we're gonna go and do things, like is energetic, outgoing, got charisma, got a personality, and it's like, why am I
Yeah,
meant to
wants to
hate
go
them?
walking in the park with you, wants to go protest things and
No,
hang out with you, is honestly interested in you, Charlie.
yeah,
Or you can like be mean to her and continue to be a good boy.
yeah, it's just
It's like, nah. I mean, I know they can't do it because of like wokeism, but if they really wanted that game to be something, the evil girl should have been like a morbidly obese, angry woman with like a nose piercing.
well, that or they could
And
just
then
have
that
made
would
it.
have worked because when she said, "Hey," you would have been like, "Fuck that bitch," you know.
That or just have the character be an obnoxious person that's just ruining the fun, or that's going out of their way to like do a change what it is that's good for your community.
Yeah, I was about to say, James, they couldn't have done that because, they can't insult their own kind.
Exactly. That's why they couldn't do that because those are the people who made the game. Andre, I do remember that. And I also remember there was a minute where some group was trying to outlaw mathematics too.
Oh yeah, there was a group that was trying to say that mathematics had become racist.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, I mean,
And
my
then at some point, there was a group, maybe the same group, that tried to say that time was racist and that being on time was an unfair expectation.
yes, I
And
do
it's
remember.
like, and then they'll turn around and say, we have no culture. Which, anytime I'm online and somebody's like, you guys ain't even got a culture, I just send them a picture of St. Basil's Cathedral. And I'm like, really? I
Even
mean,
if you just
have
want to
you
go with
built one of
American.
these? Because if you ain't built one of these, or the Brandenburg Gate, or the Arc de Triomphe, it's like, what are you talking about?
Or if you want to go with more modern American culture, it's been exported to everywhere. So I don't think
Yeah,
we don't have any culture. I think everybody's been taking our culture.
I know Rammstein sung a song about that, and he was not happy. It was
I
called
mean,
"We All Live in America."
yeah, I remember. I remember seeing that when I was a kid.
I
Like,
mean,
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
there was a point where even Iran looked like 1970s America. Not anymore now, though.
Well, hopefully soon again.
Hopefully soon again. They could. I mean,
Well,
even
the thing most Westerners don't understand is your average Iranian is a Persian, and they consider Islam to be an Arab religion. So
yeah, it's
not
not a
all of
native
them,
religion.
obviously, but a lot of them feel like they're having a foreigner's religion forced down their throats
Which they are.
at the barrel of a gun. They don't like it. Now, does that mean though they're going to go back to Christianity or even Zoroastrianism? I don't know what the plan is, but apparently, yeah, there's some race or ethnic issues in there too. But about once a month over here, Andre, we have somebody wanting to ban something for something. And luckily for us, 99% of the time, people just laugh at them and meme them until they cry and they go away. So that's the American way now.
Yeah, meme till they cry, then meme them crying.
And I mean, and now we have the ultimate meme president. So it's like the memes will flow, you know.
Actually, James, did you see that one meme where it was basically the Democrats? It's like a bunch of like animals and Trump being the king of them.
Yeah, and they got mad because Obama was a chimpanzee.
Yeah, they tried to get that guy who made that meme to apologize. He's like, no, and then they cried about it, and he's like, I'm just gonna meme you until you cry, and then meme you crying.
Right. It's like you live in the era of big balls.
Yeah.
Just get over it, you know. But I did see the AI meme where they have Donald Trump doing the Crip walk, like in the street, you know, to like, what's that one guy's name that did Not Like Us? Something LeBron, maybe. Anyway, yeah, it's got that song on, and you got Trump out there crip walking and shit. And it's just like, what is this? Kind of scary in a way. Yeah, that actually happened in America. The freaking some idiot ran into a Sikh temple and started shooting them because he didn't know they weren't Muslims. And it's like, you idiot.
Christ, at least know who you're meant to be going for. I mean, but that's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. That should be like step one of doing a hate crime. Make sure you know who the target is.
It's like like it's generally to the point where like I don't even know if I can insult your racism because you're just bad at it. You can't
Yeah,
even you're being out competed by people of the ones that you hate. Like it's come on, you got to step that up.
be like,
Be
"Look here,
ashamed of
bro.
yourself.
You have managed to fail at racism. You gave it your best shot and you still failed. Like, you know, enjoy your time in prison.
The bar
Hopefully
is
you'll
low
figure
as
it out.
well. Like to be honest, it's a very low bar to overcome, and they couldn't do it.
And he couldn't do it.
It literally, he didn't even stumble. That's
You
just
would
straight up
think the
like,
giant sword hanging out front above the door, you know, the Sikh
yeah.
would have been his first clue. The fact that there were no minarets and no one was shouting calls to prayer or anything. And you'd think they'd be like, wait a minute, something ain't right here.
It's like, but then we've got phones. Like, it doesn't take you that much to look it up. You have Google View. You can literally look at the building you're about to do it to. It's like, hey, Jesus Christ. I mean, okay, the Darwin Awards are here for a reason. And he still failed at that.
Well, I don't believe, Saxis, that anyone ever accused any of those people, except for Ted Kaczynski, of being very smart.
That's fair.
Now, Ted Kaczynski won a Leeds medal in mathematics, making him probably one of the smartest human beings to ever be born. But that didn't stop him from being crazier than a fucking bag of rats, you know?
Yeah.
You know, he wrote, if you can read his like theories on technology and shit. I mean, it's not like he didn't think through what he was doing.
No, I'm aware that he really like he had a reason behind it all. I believe it's even like in his manifesto when he was
Yep.
like making it.
Yeah, his manifesto explained in great detail why he felt like he had to do what he is doing.
Yeah.
And a big part of it was, you know, to save humanity or something.
Yeah, like it's just he felt that it was too much, and had to go down the route of like got to do some cleansing to get things back on track, according to his mathematics or to his views.
I think you could accuse that guy of being like a primatist.
Yeah,
Like he was sick and tired of modern society. He kind of wanted to go back to monkey. It was like the worst thing that ever happened is those bastards climbed out of the trees, and now I got to pay taxes.
I touched the ground. I got to pay taxes. Oh no.
But yeah, I think there's only been like 12 people ever to win that medal. So, I mean, super genius level shit right there. But
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. Like, you get into like that level of intelligence, often something else has to give.
Like
'cause again,
sanity.
Yeah, sanity is definitely one of them. I remember as a kid in Denmark when they introduced me to someone that was dubbed to be like the Danish genius, and we had to listen to him speak, thankfully on the TV. The moment he came on, we just laughed. We were like, he sounds like a child. His voice is too high pitched. He speaks weirdly. He can't explain it. So the teacher had to explain to us, like, you are mocking someone because he can't be normal like you. He is different because he is wired in this way, and this is the reason for it. He's so smart. He might not understand how to ride a bicycle. And again, we laughed because to us it was the most rudimentary thing. Like, how can you not know how to ride a bike? I was like, no, it's absolutely the case. And as I've grown up, I've started to understand why that is the case. And yeah.
I wonder how many people like him were born like throughout history and ended up just getting their skull cracked in by Neanderthal or something. Like some kid's born in the tribe and he grows up and he's like that. So, Uglock or something just cracks him upside the head and chucks him out the cave. Because they're all like, what do you mean you can't nap a Clovis tip? Well, you're done.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess there are times when being super intelligent can be detrimental.
Yeah, but that's also if you look at what's like in I want to say it's Cambodia with the killing field, because you had like Pol Pot, who then targeted people who had intelligence or even just wore glasses.
Yeah, he wanted anyone with any education killed. If you wore glasses, you had to go. And the sad thing is the people who were running around there doing all the murdering were like kids.
Yeah, they were indoctrinated very early on.
Yeah. My niece, when she did one of her college trips, she went to the high school. They converted over to basically a giant torture place.
Yeah.
And she said it was eerie,
I believe it.
Just really eerie. But also, I don't know if you ever watched the movie We Were Soldiers, because not being American, you may not give a shit about American war movies.
Not that one, no. I've seen others, but do
well,
go on.
This is the one where Mel Gibson leads the air assault guys into a valley. It's Oshawa Valley.
Oh, that one. Yep.
And my niece got a tour of the tunnels that the VC had used during the battle, because they're still there, and the Vietnamese are really cool about it. They're like, "Oh, you want to see this shit? Come on,
No, I visited Vietnam. The tour guide would often say that the Americans were too big, and then look at me and my family, because we are like averaging around, like, I'm the second shortest and I'm 6 foot. So they look at everyone, and then, like, you have my dad who's like 6'2", 6'3", and always be like, we're not American, we're Danish.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, sure. And they would still say, whenever they mention the size of Americans, they're like, oh, okay, look at us. It's like, okay, we're just gonna have to deal with it. We're white pasty people.
Andre 100%. And it's what they're trying to do here, but I don't think it's going to work because the latest generation's super based and just, being a bunch of whatevers. But that's I read, because I used to read a lot about that particular war because I had a little bit of a personal connection to it.
Mhm.
That the first time the Vietnamese soldiers saw a dead Marine, it like sent them into like shock.
Right.
And when they showed their commanders, their commanders are like, "There's no way we can beat these guys." And I mean, it was a bunch of 6-foot Marines with 60 pounds of gear on their back, and tough fighting dudes. But the reality is, I know a lot of people like to say America lost to Vietnam. No, America lost to the commies in America.
Yeah.
Because the protests here in America are what forced our withdrawal from Vietnam. Not that I'm claiming we ever should have been there.
Mhm.
The whole thing was a kerfluffle, and we fucked
Not
up.
a good idea.
But
Yeah.
It's even
and
worse
how
when
we
you have
fucked up is after we helped them run the Japanese off.
Yeah.
We should let them be independent, but instead we went to the whole treaty thing, and we agreed that they would become French Indochina again,
yeah, that was a mistake.
which pissed them all off again, right?
Which understand. I mean, France didn't exactly run that colony
No.
well, and France's response to the Civil War was, "Let's just send in the French foreign soldiers."
Right.
So they sent in effectively people who weren't French to commit to a war, and many of them having questionable backgrounds. And then everything happened.
At that time, half of the French Foreign Legion were like ex-Wehrmacht.
Yeah,
It's like-
there was a lot of Germans, Russians, and other people who just. I mean, at the time, like a lot of them just wanted to join the war early on because either their own country couldn't do it, or they felt that it was that they were wronged, and then afterwards there was a lot of Wehrmacht.
And then America got drug into it either by false flag or whatever.
Yeah, I did read about that. That was interesting because
There's I think we accused a Vietnamese naval ship of attacking one
Yes.
of our Navy ships.
Yeah.
And as the joke goes, no matter what you do, you never F around with American Navy ships because
don't touch my boats.
don't touch my fucking boats. Yeah, right. Because then America will just go completely nuts. And that was kind of our excuse. And then as soon as we went in, the French left.
Yeah.
After they got massacred at I forget the name of the battle. But I mean, they even tried to save their men. They airdropped a whole damn regiment of French Foreign Legions right into the battle. They all died. I mean, it was a complete massacre. The commander of the French, rather than whatever, he ended up deleting himself because, he wasn't going to take credit for how bad they built their little trenched-in system in the bottom of a valley, and Ho Chi Minh's guys were all on the top of the hills, which meant the mortars and everything were just like, you're
That's going to pound
right.
them.
And then we show up, and not to be a jingoist American, but we won every battle.
Yeah.
But
There
then-
was certainly it was also a period where America was testing out new combat tactics and methods. Because it's during the Vietnamese War that you would see events such as like box-in artillery, where you would basically, I mean, that's been used previously, but that's where you really began having full usage of it, where you would box them in and then just have like artillery go left and right, up and down, just absolutely scouring the place. There were several generals that wanted to mimic the usage of helicopters, which had been tested out in Korea within Vietnam, because the helicopters were first really deployed in the Korean War, And while they had seen some usability, they were like, "Well, we've made some improvements since then, and that's why you see so many helicopters used, especially during the movies, because they were such a popular mobility factor for the army."
I mean, I think there's probably not many people on the planet that see a UH-1 Bell Huey
Yeah,
and don't think about
No, yeah. The
Yeah,
Huey
no.
is
it's like that.
synonymous
That
with
that is a machine that is a product of an era.
Yep.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know you're not. You're a swamp German, just a passerby. We've already established.
And my Papa
And
Workman
and,
knows.
and not your echo is a Eastern Slav. Like as a matter of fact, right now, not your echo is probably doing a Slav squat, eating samichi while he's watching this and commenting. Sunflower seeds, guys. Samichi, sunflower seeds. Because I mean, if you want to make friends in Russia, carry around a bag of sunflower seeds. And if you talk to somebody, just offer them some. You'll make all the best friends for life. So yeah, we've got a Netherlands guy. We've got a Rus. Saxius himself is Danish. And then Timmy and I are both from the great Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Yeah.
But all that said, guys, I wish I could stay here and talk to you guys all night. But my wife walked by a little while ago, and the look on her face,
She's not happy.
she's not real happy right now. So I think I better go do some shit and get her happy again.
That's a
Because-
plan.
Yeah, it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. But
Well,
Sax,
I'll
thank
see
you
you
for
both.
joining. It was incredibly interesting talking to you about dinosaurs and stuff.
oh no, absolutely. Love coming
And-
on here.
Yeah, and Timmy, you already know. My brother from the Commonwealth, even though he's a swampy and I'm from the hills. And the rest of you guys, thank you for